Hey, what's up? I'm Chris, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about some brand new, budget-friendly anamorphic lenses that might just surprise you. The Blazar Mantis 1.33X anamorphic lens set, to be exact. These lenses aim to bring that classic anamorphic vibe with the flares and the oval bokeh and the depth, but without the typical high price tag and a 1.33X squeeze factor. Let's check them out. So before we get into it, let me share why these even intrigue me. Lately I've been finding myself feeling a little uninspired by the look of my everyday lenses, which are the Sony G Master series. Now, don't get me wrong, they're incredible, I love them, they're sharp, they're clean, they have impeccable build quality, and they're just workhorses. I really wanted to explore something with more character, but without breaking the bank, which is how I even stumbled across the newly announced Blazar Mantis set. Now, lucky for me, my friends over at a local production company called 2 Stories Media had also stumbled across this set, and they actually pre-ordered them before I had a chance to talk to them about it. Once the lenses came in, 2 Stories Media hit me up and asked if I wanted to meet and check them out. So we met at a local park to get a feel for them. It wasn't anything super clinical, just a chance to kind of walk around, test the lenses in some natural light, and just get a feel for their character in a real world environment. So I want to give a huge shout out to 2 Stories Media for not only inviting me out to check these lenses out, but for also sponsoring this video and allowing me to do a deeper dive into this set. So before we dive into the test, let's talk a little bit more about some of the specs on these lenses, as well as some initial thoughts right off the riff. And the overall build quality feels really solid in your hands with the compact metal body. You can tell that Blazar really had the indie shooters in mind here because they're not huge cinema lenses, so they fit rather comfortably on smaller setups like the FX3, especially if you're going handheld or on a gimbal. The set I had the opportunity to test are the 35, the 50, and the 75mm, and all three of those focal lengths offer a t-stop range of T2 to T22. The particular set that I'm testing in this video are PL mounts, but the Mantis series offer an interchangeable mount that can fit just about any mounting system on the market. So if you're interested in some more detailed breakdown of the specs of each lens, I provided a link below to Blazar's website. With that said, there are three main factors that we're going to be looking at today in this video, which are flare characteristics, bokeh quality, and focus breathing. So let's start with flares, because let's be honest, that's what most of us are looking at with anamorphic lenses. So when looking at flares on this set, you can clearly see the horizontal flares and the amber characteristics with a neutral or a silver element mixed in. One of the things I really appreciate about these flares is that they don't feel oversaturated or distracting from the subject. They add a bit of charm without feeling gimmicky. On their site, they describe it as a distinctive flare color that falls between neutral and amber, and honestly, I saw that play out a lot more than I expected. However, one aspect I did notice during testing is that the lens flares gradient isn't perfectly smooth. There are distinct shifts at certain points. While this adds character to the image, it might not be as controlled as what you might find in higher end anamorphic lenses, which tend to offer more consistent flares. But again, this is a bit of nitpicking. At this price point, you're definitely getting some great looking flares. The 50mm was probably my favorite in terms of flare characteristics with this particular set that I tested. Now, Blazar claims that these lenses offer a 2x anamorphic aesthetic and a 1.33x squeeze, and you can really see that in the bokeh. The Mantis series features a consistent 14-blade oval iris design, aiming to replicate the aesthetics of that beloved 2x anamorphic look while maintaining a more practical 1.33x squeeze. And I was really impressed by how well this came through, even in tighter setups. In this test, we were at a minimum focus for each lens. The 35 and the 50 are both rated at a close distance of 1.57 feet or 0.48 meters, and the 75 has a measured close distance of 2.2 feet or 0.67 meters. Now, we shot this test in a small room with some string lights about 4 to 6 feet behind me. I felt that the Mantis series really holds up to its Promise 2X aesthetic, coming very close to achieving that signature cat's eye bokeh. I was pleasantly surprised by how consistent the oval shape was maintained through all 3 focal lengths. Upon closer inspection, you can spot some fringing and chromatic aberration within the frame, but honestly, that's to be expected to a certain degree. The Mantis series offers beautiful bokeh with its 1.33X squeeze, delivering a look that mimics some of the characteristics of a 2X squeeze, but without the heavy image warping that's typically associated with the 2X squeeze. This makes the set a versatile option for filmmakers who want that anamorphic aesthetic without that extreme distortion. You really get that cinematic depth with this set. As for the focus breathing on this set, it was noticeable but never distracting. As you move toward closer focus, the focus throw becomes more exaggerated and the breathing is more apparent, especially when racking between 2 subjects, like you see here with Ryan pulling focus between Kevin and I on the 35mm. We also ran a couple of tests with the 50 and the 75mm as I walked toward the camera, and while we weren't paying close attention to the sharpness, I felt that the focus rack on the Mantis series stayed pretty smooth as I moved closer in the frame. Even during the bokeh test, when Jess was racking between myself and the background, the focal shift felt natural and fluid. This kind of focus breathing is part of what gives anamorphic lenses their cinematic personality. It's less of a flaw and more of a creative feature, so while it's present, it actually adds a little charm to the Mantis series, which is exactly what you want from a lens set like this. The overall character of these lenses was something that really did pleasantly surprise me. The fall off on the Mantis series feels like they pull you into the frame with the subject, giving you that great cinematic separation between your subject and the background. And while performing these tests, there wasn't really any visible vignetting, which was nice being that sometimes you can get that with anamorphics, especially when shooting on a full frame sensor. There is a touch of softness, especially toward the edges, most noticeable on the 35mm. I didn't do very clinical tests in regards to checking the sharpness, but I was really happy with how everything looked in focus. There is a key advantage to the Mantis set being a 1.33X squeeze. You can shoot and monitor footage without needing a camera that has a built-in de-squeeze capability like you see here on the FX3. After some testing, I settled on a 1.35X de-squeeze because it looked the most natural. Even though these lenses are advertised as a 1.33X, in practice, they often squeeze slightly more, so 1.35X balances the proportions perfectly in my opinion. So who are these lenses for? If you're someone who's just stepping into the anamorphic world like myself, maybe you've been using filters or post effects, this is a fantastic way to experiment with real anamorphic glass at a price that won't destroy your budget. At only $2,799 US for all 3 focal lengths featured in today's video, it's hard not to be intrigued by this Mantis set. Now, they're not perfect, but honestly, I think that's part of the appeal of them. The 35mm is your go-to for that wide, energetic coverage, offering that warm vintage feel, more than likely using the 50mm for more versatile general use, and the 75mm is great for portraits and interviews, giving you that tighter look with that beautiful subject separation. Overall, I've been seriously impressed with what these lenses deliver at this price point. The flares are clean and stylish, they're not gimmicky, the bokeh is oval, beautiful, and really pops in the frame, the build quality is solid, and the usability is right on target for solo shooters or small teams, especially if you have a documentary, a more creative commercial, or a narrative project. Blazar has really raised the bar with this set in my opinion, and I'm excited to see what the upcoming 25 and 100mm focal lengths will bring to this set as well. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. If you did enjoy this video and you would like to see more videos like this as well as similar content, feel free to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell because it does help immensely. And I hope to see you on set.